Heroes are made, not born. We often look at heroes as if they were born different from the rest of us, as if they were gifted with some extraordinary power that made them destined for greatness. But that's not the truth. Heroes are not born, they are made through struggle, through perseverance, and through the choices they make every single day. Every person who has ever been called a hero started as an ordinary individual. What set them apart was not some innate ability, but their decision to act when others hesitated. If you study the lives of great leaders, visionaries, and change makers, you'll notice a common thread. None of them started with everything in their favor. They faced adversity, uncertainty, and moments of deep self-doubt. What made them different was how they responded to those challenges. Instead of shrinking back, they leaned into the discomfort, learning from failure rather than being defined by it. They understood that heroism is not about being fearless, it's about choosing courage in the face of fear. Heroes are shaped in the small, everyday moments. It's the person who wakes up before dawn to work on their dream while the world is still asleep. It's the athlete who pushes through exhaustion, training harder even when no one is watching. It's the single parent who sacrifices for their children, refusing to let circumstances define their future. Heroism isn't a grand, dramatic event. It's built in the mundane, in the commitment to do what is right even when it's hard, even when no one acknowledges it. The world often celebrates the result, but ignores the process. We admire the successful entrepreneur, but don't see the years of failure and rejection they endured. We idolize the champion without recognizing the thousands of hours spent practicing in solitude. We call someone a hero when they perform a great act, but we overlook the years of preparation, self-discipline, and hard choices that made that moment possible. The truth is, heroism is cultivated long before it is recognized. More importantly, being a hero is not about external validation. The greatest heroes don't set out to be admired or praised. They don't wait for the world to acknowledge them before they take action. Instead, they build their strength, character, and resilience in private. They act not because they want recognition, but because they believe in something bigger than themselves. They understand that true greatness comes from within, from the daily decision to be better than they were yesterday. Heroes are not immune to fear or doubt. They experience the same struggles as everyone else. The difference is they don't let fear stop them. They move forward despite uncertainty. They embrace failure as a stepping stone rather than a stopping point. They recognize that every setback carries a lesson, every challenge builds strength, and every obstacle is an opportunity to grow. This mindset is not inherited. It is developed through discipline, persistence, and an unwavering commitment to something greater than themselves. The journey to becoming a hero is not glamorous. It's filled with moments of loneliness, struggle, and sacrifice, but it's in those moments that true character is forged. The world does not shape heroes. Heroes shape themselves. They are created in the choices they make when no one is watching, in the battles they fight within their own minds, and in their refusal to settle for mediocrity. Every person has the potential to be a hero, not because of some extraordinary talent, but because of their ability to choose growth over comfort, action over excuses, and purpose over fear. The making of a hero is not a single moment. It is a lifetime of small, courageous choices. Take responsibility for your story. At some point in life, we all face a moment of realization. No one else is responsible for how our story unfolds. It's easy to believe that our circumstances, our past, or the people around us dictate our future, but that belief only keeps us trapped. The truth is, the pen has always been in our hands. We are the authors of our own stories, whether we choose to write them intentionally or let them be written by default. Taking responsibility for your story is not just about accepting where you are, it's about owning where you are going. Many people spend their lives waiting for something external to change before they take action. They wait for the perfect opportunity, the right connections, or a sign that tells them it's time. But waiting is a passive approach to life. The people who create meaningful change, whether in their own lives or in the world, are the ones who stop waiting and start doing. They understand that if they don't take control of their own path, someone else will. And when you let others dictate your story, you risk living a life that doesn't truly belong to you. Owning your story means refusing to be defined by past mistakes, failures, or hardships. Everyone carries experiences that could hold them back, but the difference between those who thrive and those who remain stuck is the way they respond. Some people allow their past to be an anchor, weighing them down with regret, blame, or self-pity. Others choose to see their past as a lesson, a source of wisdom that can propel them forward. The events in your life do not define you. How you respond to them does. Taking responsibility for your story also means letting go of excuses. It's tempting to blame circumstances, people, or bad luck for why we aren't where we want to be. But as long as we hold on to excuses, we give away our power. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you regain control. This doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending obstacles don't exist. It means recognizing that, despite them, you still have choices. You may not be able to control everything that happens, but you can always control how you respond. People who take full ownership of their story understand the importance of self-awarenesses. They ask themselves the hard questions. What patterns have I been repeating? What habits are holding me back? What fears have I been avoiding? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. Without self-reflection, it's easy to drift through life without ever realizing that we are the ones standing in our own way. True growth begins when we stop avoiding responsibility and start holding ourselves accountable. Another crucial aspect of owning your story is making intentional choices. Every day we make countless small decisions that shape our future, what we prioritize, how we spend our time, and the mindset we choose to adopt. Many people assume that major life changes come from one big dramatic decision, but more often transformation comes from the quiet, consistent choices made over time. Taking responsibility for your story is about recognizing that your daily actions matter. They are the building blocks of your future. When you take ownership of your story, you also stop seeking validation from others. Many people make decisions based on what will earn them approval rather than what aligns with their true purpose. But living for external validation leads to a life that feels unfulfilled and inauthentic. People who take full responsibility for their story trust themselves. They listen to their own intuition rather than relying on the expectations of others. They understand that their life is theirs to create, and they refuse to let anyone else hold the pen. The power to change your life has always been in your hands. Every challenge, every setback, and every success is a chapter in your story. But you are the one who decides how the story unfolds. You are not just a character in your life, you are the author. And the greatest stories are written by those who take full responsibility for every word. Courage is not the absence of fear. Fear is a natural part of being human. It is hardwired into our biology, designed to keep us safe from harm. Yet too often, fear is misunderstood. People assume that courage means the elimination of fear, that the brave are those who do not experience doubt, hesitation, or anxiety. But this is far from the truth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move forward despite it. Every person who has ever done something extraordinary has felt fear. The difference is they did not let it stop them. Fear manifests in different ways. Sometimes it is the fear of failure, the worry that if we try and fall short, we will be judged, ridiculed, or disappointed. Other times it is the fear of uncertainty, not knowing what will happen next, fearing that we might lose control. Then there is the fear of rejection, of standing out, of not being good enough. These fears are universal. They do not discriminate between the strong and the weak, the successful and the struggling. The only difference is how we choose to respond to them. Courageous people do not wait for fear to disappear before they take action. They understand that fear will always be present, whispering doubts in their minds, trying to convince them to stay where it's safe. But they also understand that staying safe often means staying small. Growth does not happen in comfort zones. The people who achieve greatness, whether in business, art, sports, or personal development, are the ones who acknowledge their fear but refuse to be controlled by it. Many of the most inspiring figures in history battled fear every step of the way. Think of the leaders who fought for justice despite threats against their lives, the inventors who risked failure again and again to bring their ideas to life, the pioneers who stepped into the unknown without any guarantee of success. None of them were fearless. What set them apart was their ability to act even when fear was screaming at them to stop. Their courage did not come from the absence of fear. It came from the conviction that something greater was worth the risk. One of the greatest misconceptions about courage is that it requires grand, dramatic acts. But in reality, courage is built in the small moments, the daily choices we make when no one is watching. It is the student who raises their hand despite the fear of saying the wrong thing. It is the entrepreneur who takes the first step toward building a dream, even without a clear path ahead. It is the person who speaks up for themselves, even when their voice shakes. Every time we act despite fear, we strengthen our courage. Courage also requires trust, not just in the outcome, but in ourselves. Many people hesitate because they want certainty. They want to know that if they take the risk, it will pay off. But life does not offer guarantees. The only thing we can control is our own willingness to try. People who embody courage trust that even if they stumble, they will find a way forward. They understand that failure is not a sign to stop. It is proof that they are pushing beyond their limits. Another important aspect of courage is recognizing that fear does not always mean danger. Sometimes fear is simply a signal that we are stepping into something bigger than ourselves. It means we are growing, stretching, evolving. The same fear that holds people back can also be a guide, pointing toward the very things that matter most. The difference lies in interpretation, whether we see fear as a barrier or as an invitation to rise. Fear will never fully disappear, and that is okay. It does not need to. The presence of fear does not mean we are weak. It means we are human. Courage is not about eliminating fear, but about refusing to let it dictate our choices. Every act of bravery, no matter how small, is a declaration that fear does not get to decide our future. Small choices lead to big transformations. We often think of transformation as something that happens in a single defining moment, an instant where everything changes. But real change doesn't work that way. The truth is, big transformations are built on small, seemingly insignificant choices made every single day. It's not the grand gestures or overnight successes that shape our lives the most, but the quiet, consistent decisions we make when no one is watching. Whether it's in our personal growth, relationships, careers, or health, every major breakthrough is the result of a series of small, intentional actions. Consider the way a river carves through rock. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes years, decades, even centuries of water flowing in the same direction, slowly but surely shaping the landscape. The same principle applies to our lives. The habits we build, the disciplines we commit to, and the choices we make, no matter how small, gradually shape who we become. One skipped workout doesn't seem like a big deal, but a habit of skipping workouts leads to a decline in health. One choice to read for 10 minutes a day may not seem life-changing, but over time, it builds knowledge, discipline, and mental sharpness. The challenge is that small choices often feel insignificant in the moment. Because they don't produce instant results, we underestimate their impact. If you decide to eat healthy today, you won't wake up tomorrow with a transformed body. If you put in an extra hour of focused work, you may not see immediate career success. And because we don't see immediate change, it's easy to dismiss these choices as unimportant. But compounded over time, these small actions determine whether we move closer to our goals or further away from them. The same principle applies to personal development. The way we respond to everyday situations, whether we choose patience or frustration, gratitude or resentment, slowly shapes our mindset and character. A person who regularly chooses to see the best in others will develop a more positive and resilient mindset over time. Someone who consistently avoids challenges will, over time, lose confidence in their ability to overcome obstacles. Our small daily responses train our minds, reinforcing patterns that will either serve us or hold us back in the long run. Transformation is not about waiting for the perfect moment to make a massive change. It's about making the best choice available to you right now. Too many people delay their progress because they believe they need a big opportunity, a fresh start, or the right conditions. But the truth is, the biggest changes begin with the smallest steps. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. You just need to make one better choice today than you did yesterday. And if you do that consistently, the transformation will happen naturally. One of the greatest advantages of small choices is that they are within our control. We may not always have the power to change our circumstances overnight, but we always have the ability to choose our next step. We can choose to show up when we feel like quitting. We can choose to be kind when we feel frustrated. We can choose to put in the effort even when no one else notices. And these small choices, repeated over time, become the foundation of remarkable transformations. Many people believe that success is about making one big, life-changing decision. In reality, success is the result of thousands of small, consistent choices. The world's greatest athletes didn't wake up one day with extraordinary skill. They built it through years of daily training. The most successful entrepreneurs didn't stumble upon success by accident. They made countless small decisions that added up to something great. The most fulfilled people didn't just get lucky. They created a life of purpose by making intentional choices, one day at a time. The small things matter. The seemingly insignificant choices we make each day determine the direction of our lives. Growth isn't about giant leaps, it's about steady steps. And when we understand the power of small, consistent actions, we gain control over our future in a way that no single moment of inspiration ever could. Failure is part of the journey. Failure is one of the most misunderstood aspects of success. Society often teaches us to fear failure, to avoid it at all costs, and to see it as a sign of weakness or incompetence. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of the journey. Every person who has ever achieved something great has encountered setbacks, obstacles, and moments of doubt. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of failure, but how they respond to it. Failure is a teacher. It provides lessons that no amount of success ever could. When we fail, we are forced to confront our weaknesses, reassess our strategies, and refine our approach. It teaches us resilience, patience, and adaptability. The most successful individuals in history, entrepreneurs, athletes, scientists, and leaders, did not reach their goals without failure. Instead of allowing failure to define them, they used it to grow stronger, wiser, and more determined. One of the biggest reasons people give up on their dreams is because they view failure as a permanent setback rather than a stepping stone. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to believe that we aren't good enough, that we aren't meant to succeed. But failure is not a signal to stop. It is an invitation to try again, this time with more knowledge and experience. Every failed attempt brings us one step closer to figuring out what works. Think about the greatest inventors and innovators throughout history. Thomas Edison, for example, failed thousands of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work." His success was not due to avoiding failure, but because he embraced it as part of the process. If he had given up after his first, 10th, or even 1,000th failure, the world would have never seen his invention. Failure also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers, that we are still learning, growing, and evolving. When we succeed too quickly or easily, we may develop a false sense of confidence. But when we fail, we are given an opportunity to pause, reflect, and seek guidance. Failure humbles us, but it also strengthens us. It forces us to develop grit, the ability to persist even when things are difficult. Many people see failure as something to be ashamed of, but in reality, failure is proof that we are trying. The only true failure is refusing to take action in the first place. Playing it safe, avoiding risks, and staying in our comfort zones may protect us from failure, but they also prevent growth. The people who achieve the most in life are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who fail the most, because they are the ones who are willing to take chances, to push themselves beyond their limits, and to keep moving forward despite setbacks. Failure is also a powerful way to build character. It reveals our true level of commitment to our goals. When we experience failure, we have two choices. We can either give up and walk away, or we can rise up and try again with even greater determination. Those who choose to persevere develop inner strength, self-belief, and a mindset that refuses to be defeated. Over time, this mindset becomes one of the most valuable assets a person can have, the ability to keep going no matter what. The journey to success is never a straight line. It is filled with detours, roadblocks, and moments of uncertainty. But every setback, every failure, and every disappointment is shaping us into the person we need to become. It is in these moments of struggle that we develop the resilience, wisdom, and strength required to reach our highest potential. Failure is not the end of the road. It is simply a part of the journey. Your impact starts with you. Many people dream of making a difference in the world. They want to inspire others, change lives, and leave a lasting legacy. But often they overlook the most important truth. Impact doesn't begin with grand gestures or external recognition. It starts within. Before you can influence others, you must first influence yourself. Before you can change the world, you must be willing to change yourself. The way you think, the habits you build, and the choices you make each day determine the kind of impact you will have. The mistake many people make is waiting for the right moment to start making a difference. They believe they need a bigger platform, more experience, or external validation before they can have an impact. But the reality is, your impact begins with how you show up in your own life. The way you treat yourself, the values you live by, and the example you set all create a ripple effect. You don't have to be famous, wealthy, or powerful to make a difference. What matters is how you carry yourself in the small, everyday moments. True impact isn't about impressing people with words. It's about leading by example. People are drawn to authenticity, consistency, and integrity. When you live in alignment with your values, when your actions match your words, you naturally inspire those around you. A person who takes responsibility for their own growth, who stays true to their principles even when no one is watching, creates a far greater impact than someone who only speaks about change but never embodies it. Your mindset and beliefs shape the way you interact with the world. If you want to create a positive impact, you must first cultivate the right mindset within yourself. A person who is filled with self-doubt, negativity, or fear cannot uplift others effectively. But someone who actively works on their self-awareness, confidence, and resilience naturally radiates strength to those around them. Your energy, your attitude, and your perspective influence more people than you realize. The choices you make every day, no matter how small, contribute to the kind of impact you leave. Choosing kindness over judgment, gratitude over complaint, and action over excuses sends a message to the people around you. When you consistently choose to be the best version of yourself, others take notice. Your impact is not just in what you say, but in how you live. Even in moments where you think no one is watching, your actions can inspire someone else to do better. Many people believe that impact is measured by scale, that only those who reach millions of people truly make a difference. But the truth is, real impact often happens in quiet, personal moments. A teacher who believes in a struggling student, a leader who encourages their team, a friend who listens without judgment. These seemingly small interactions can change lives. The way you treat one person has the power to create a chain reaction of positivity that spreads further than you could ever imagine. Taking responsibility for your own growth and actions is the foundation of meaningful impact. You cannot pour into others if your own cup is empty. The most impactful people are those who prioritize their own learning, discipline, and emotional well-being so that they can give their best to the world. They understand that transformation starts within, and that self-improvement is not selfish, it is essential. The stronger and wiser you become, the more value you can offer to those around you. Every person has the potential to create change, but it starts on a personal level. If you want to inspire, lead, and uplift others, you must first be willing to work on yourself. Impact is not about seeking approval, recognition, or praise. It's about becoming the kind of person whose presence naturally elevates those around them. The more you grow, the greater your ability to influence the world in a meaningful way.